Okay, so these are the sections that I'm going to be taking. So we have, I always start off with a square section, put your head over there, square section on the top, and then my next section comes down to over the ear, and then everything else, as you can see, is pied off. Okay, now the reason why, all right, is because, like I was mentioning earlier, I think one of the biggest problems that, well, I used to have when I was cutting long hair was I always seemed to get lost. And what would happen is I would start off with my guideline, and then after I cut this section, then I would use this section as a guideline for my next section, and that section, these two sections, then a guideline for my third section. And what would happen is that by the time I get right here in the middle, I have so much hair in my hands that I can't see the guideline, and then I get lost. So when I cut, what you will see me do is you will see me only use this square section here as my guideline for each of these sections that I've pied off. So this part, this section here, will not be a guideline for this section, and so forth, all the way through. That way I find that I have like complete control over what I'm doing, and it's really, you know, it prevents me from getting lost. Now, in the front, okay, what I'm going to do is this. Now, if you could stand up for me, please. Michiko, okay, and face the camera, okay, right there. Now, what I want to do here in the front is I want to put a line in through here. And, you know, one of the most common ways of doing that, okay, is to literally take a section like that, bring this hair over, all right, and then cut it so that this moves back. Now, the problem with that particular technique that I see is that if I misjudge the over direction, because what I'm doing here is I'm over directing the root system coming forward. If I misjudge this over direction, then this, when it goes back, could easily become too short. So what I tend to do is, when I section the hair, I section the hair following the way that the hair is growing. Because for me, with my technique, okay, it's all about basically, you know, carving a shape into the hair so that if the client doesn't do anything to it at all, the shape that I've cut into the hair is going to be exactly where it grows from. So you know, the amount of over direction is going to be minimal. So I take my first section here, okay, so that my parting is parallel with the growth pattern, all right? Now, the angle of my fingers is what determines for me the angle that I'm going to cut into the hair. So my fingers are literally pointing straight down at the floor, all right? So, and then I keep my fingers as close to the head as I possibly can, all right? Because this is where it's going to fall. And then I cut up. So now the bottom part of this section is now going to be the guideline for my next section here. So I do exactly the same thing. Bring this down, okay? Fingers pointing right at the floor. So what's happening is I'm getting longer and longer with each section. Remember, I'm still into the fringe section here, okay? I haven't even gotten into the side section, and I am all the way down to here, okay? And so this is my side section here. So the idea is so that we keep it so that we've fringe around the face, okay, but we leave the length where it is. So you see my fingers are always pointing right at the floor, all right? This way, you know, I can give the hair tons of tension, okay, which makes my shape really, really strong, because the more tension I give the hair, then the stronger the shape is going to be. Oh, and I forgot to mention this. Kenny, Gwen told me that you came on at the beginning with my consultation, so I just wanted to say hi and thank you for tuning in. Okay, so that is my side section. So you see I get a really nice line coming all the way through, so that, let's see if we can take a vent brush, okay, so that when I comb that, okay, and when I blow that dry, that is going to come around and cup, you know, just underneath the chin. All right, so I have my really long fringe here. Now, the other reason why I do this now is so that when I'm doing the actual layering, I've cut my baseline in, so I have a guide here to go to from my guide here on the top. And the same thing will apply when I get into the side and the fringe section here. So now that I've put that line in, okay, I am going to separate the fringe section from the side section, okay, so that's a separate section here, and this is a separate section here. All right, okay, sit down, Michiko, for me, please. Okay, now, the question arises now is what length am I actually going to take the hair to? So I've mentioned that I want to put soft layering in. So what I do is, like, here's my crown here, and the occipital bone is here. Now, when I measure the top length, okay, the longest I can leave this is at the occipital bone. If I measure it below the bone, then I'm going to lose any kind of volume, because the crown and the occipital bone are my two balance points. And if I measure this below the balance point, okay, then it's going to look like the hair has grown out from a layered haircut. So the longest I can leave it is at the occipital bone. So I bring this down and no, don't come with me. Isn't that great? You know, when the client does that, I mean, God, you know, don't try and help me, okay? Please,
Sure.
Be stationary. So bring this down, measure it right to the occipital bone, okay? So then you lift it, and then that is going to be the length that I'm going to cut the top hair to, okay, so that when I let that go, that comes to it just bounces into where the occipital bone is, okay? Now, this is going to be my guideline for all of the other sections that I'm going to use. So when I do this, I like to start off over the ear, okay? So I take the ear section and lift that hair up. All right, there's my guideline, okay? Right here. And then the angle of your fingers is going to be determined by the length of hair that you have. So the longer the hair is, then the more of an angle my fingers are going to be. And you know, if you have to take 2 or 3 sections, then that's fine. But the thing to remember is that I have complete control over the hair that I'm cutting. So I take that, that goes back into its home, okay? Whoops. That goes back into its home, sorry. Picked up two sections. There. Then I take my next section, okay, and lift that up. Now, the one thing that I want you to notice is right behind the ear here, I have dropped this hair out. And the reason why is because there's no hair right behind the ear. So I don't want to make that too thin in through here. So I drop this out, okay? Just that section right behind the ear. Pick up my square section from the top. Pull it straight out from the head, okay? And cut all the way through to my baseline. Okay, now as soon as I've done that, again, this goes back into the section, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to use this section that I've just cut as a guideline for my next section. I want to be able to be in complete control, okay, with the section that I'm cutting. So this allows me to give the hair, you know, a tremendous amount of tension, which, you know, is only going to make my shape that much stronger. Okay, so back in here. Okay, and then, you know, the nice thing is it takes a little, I would say the longest part about doing this haircut is actually putting the sections in. But when I'm putting the sections in, and my client is watching me put the sections in, you know, she's probably thinking that, you know, he knows what he's doing.
Cindy, hi Cindy, has a question.
Yes, Cindy.
Is her length dropping out of your fingers?
No, it's all the way, I'm taking it all the way down to the base. Okay, so there's nothing here that's dropped out. The only part that's dropped out is the little area right there behind the ear. So when I pick this up, okay.
Oh, we have another question.
Good, good.
Many people with questions.
Yes, good.
Is this a 90-degree angle? Or is this at 90 degrees, I should say?
God,
you can talk about angles now.
Really, when I'm cutting hair, I hate to talk in terms of angles and degrees. This is being pulled straight out from the head. So, you know, I suppose like from this point here, that's straight out from the head. And so that's at a 90, okay? Down here, okay, that would be at a 90. But because I'm leaving the hair the length that I wanted, I am lifting this hair up. So this is not at a 90 here. So when I'm cutting, I'm really cutting so that it goes across like this. So this would be at a 90, if that's, you know, easier for you to understand that. But then this is over directed up for me to retain the length here. Does that answer the question?
Ah, Cindy has another question.
Okay.
Cindy is a woman of many questions
Yes.
today. Are you cutting into her length? Because that's scary.
Am I cutting into the length? No, I'm using the length as a guideline just to go to. So like there would be my shortest point or my longest point from down here. So I'm only cutting to that point. And then, so I'm not dropping anything out. So I'm still retaining the length, okay, through here. But I'm not cutting into it. It's the same thing when
Cindy's
I come...
got it now.
Great, good. It's the same thing when I come through here on the sides. Like the sides, I think, are really difficult because there's no hair right here, okay? So the idea is I've got to lift this hair up to retain the length. So I still want it to blend with my square section on the top, all right? So I take my fringe section, all right, and I lift this, oh, excuse me, this way. I lift this, okay, and then, so here's my guideline here, okay, from the bottom. So I know that I've got to angle my fingers, you see, so there is my shortest point there, this is my shortest point here, so then I know that everything in the middle has to go. Okay, so that then, okay, when I release that, okay, this is still...
Hair with Flare 1 has a question. Is there a reason